Hey world, being able to come back with another video. Fam, you get a chance to check out my last video, make sure you can check that out, okay? Because actually, it's kind of prelude. Last video is kind of prelude to what I'm going to talk about right now. And like I say, I kind of talked about the bills and the legislation that was passed in these last 40, 50 years, how they've, pretty much been detrimental to certain groups of people. You did? And if you see the title of this video, the title of this video says the two main reasons why Congress wants to end abortions and the opioid crisis. See, you would think that the reason for this is to try to sustain life, do what's good for the betterment of people, the betterment of United States citizens, right? But that's not the case. See, if you look at the numbers tell a deep story about why this whole abortion issue and this whole opioid crisis issue is so prevalent in the media right now. Because if you think back to the 80s and the 90s, families, when crack cocaine was an epidemic, decimating urban communities, criminalizing drug people, those that were on drugs, okay, throwing them in prison, coming up with bills like the crime bill, like 3 strikes bill, where if you caught with drugs, or if you caught, incapacitated because of drugs, you were thrown in prison. Now you fast forward 30 years, this opioid crisis, now it's a crisis. Now they're basically, shutting down or trying to minimize the number or the amount of opioids that are in the circulation. Now, not one time did they ever try to minimize the circulation of crack cocaine or heroin when it was decimating urban communities. Now, this opioid crisis, and you know who's basically being affected by opioids. You did? So it's the suburban kids, it's the middle-class Caucasians that are killing themselves, ODing on drugs. And these drugs are methamphetamines and opioids. Now, all of a sudden, legislation is passed, which is called the Secure Act, because it's a provision in the Secure Act about the opioids. Why do you think they're trying to legalize marijuana and cannabis when you have thousands of people in jail and prison right now for marijuana? Okay? This is what they call survival, survivor mode. When they talk about ending abortion, it's a survivor mode. And why they're in survival mode? Because you look at the numbers, family, there are more white deaths than there are white births. And in the last 3 years, there have been more white people dying than having babies in 26 states in the United States. Now, I know this is a big concern in Europe. They've been really concerned about the mortality rate in Europe for a while now. That's why they've been trying to encourage more births. But it's not happening. See, karma is something. When you dropped all those Planned Parenthood clinics in urban neighborhoods, actually just encouraging young people to abort their babies. It wasn't a problem when they were in the urban neighborhoods and when the numbers were, disproportionate. Now, they want to end abortion. They want to end this opioid crisis because of the mortality rate of white people. See, this isn't a racist video. This is an educational video because when you look at the laws that are being put on the books, you got to look at these laws and who they affect and who they benefit. Remember, if you didn't get a chance to watch my last video, the 3 bills that I talked about, the No Child Left Behind that President Bush passed, the crime bill that Clinton passed, okay? And then the civil rights movement back the LBJ passed. All 3 of those pieces of legislation harm urban Afro-melanated people. It didn't help, okay? Now the legislation that's being passed today with the Secure Act, trying to end the opioid crisis, trying to end abortion, trying to get gun control. It's fear. You did? When you are dying more than you're having babies, that's a problem. And of course, fam, y'all know we still having babies. You did? And so by 2045, they're saying the population in the United States would be, below 50% Caucasian. Now, if you don't think that's, reason for alarm, then you're not really paying attention. See? These laws are passed for survival purposes. You did karma something. All right? So, family, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the video. Like I said, this is just a coming into 2020, family. You need to make sure you have 2020 vision. Make sure you look at the things that are going on from a metaphysics standpoint, not just from a physical standpoint, because the things that are going on are not necessarily what they seem. There are a lot of things hidden in plain sight that you have to kind of wipe your vision to see clearly. You dig? So, if like, don't believe me, do your research. It's the reason why they want to end abortions. It's the reason why they want to end opioids. It's the reason why they want to legalize marijuana after so many years. Like I say, family, look at the legislation and look at who it benefits. See, be an intellectual voter if you vote. Be an intellectual voter. Don't look at ever what they say. Look at what they do. Don't worry about a person's words. Worry about a person's actions. You dig? All right, family. In the meantime, between time, may the Most High Saudi bring you joy and being with us out of 5,000.